Okay, welcome back, Annie and everyone. This is Linen Otter here to do another episode of One Last Night. Last time we left off, Xavier just got a chance to witness basically the way the world is now. A really nice little piece of artwork that showed the destruction that had happened to the city. And I think that was their last stop for the day, so it looks like we're going to be going over to Haven again, hopefully. We'll see when we get there. But starting reflectively. Dear Marshall, I was so confident everything would go well yesterday. I thought I had it all planned down to a T. I should have guessed it would go wrong from the start. Our 1 year anniversary was supposed to be an incredible day. We'd started off with a visit to the theater, where they were showing the movie of the FBI working with a serial killer. That movie? You know the one. With our shared love of detective work and thrillers, I thought it'd be nice to see a classic we love on the big screen. Little did I know, a small fire that morning had shut the place down for the day. Next was the dinner at the restaurant of our first date, the place where our love truly came to blossom. On the way out, we'd pick up a bouquet of roses, a bit stereotypical but still romantic in my eyes. Of course, the restaurant had overbooked and our seating was delayed, putting the rest of the evening on hold. Then, as we were finally seated and served our food, someone at a nearby table had knocked into the waiter, resulting in your white shirt staining that purplish red hue. I appreciated both of their furious apologies, but we know that it wasn't on purpose. It's not like they had tried to sabotage the date. Fate was trying to do that on its own. When finally we left, the evening was beginning to draw to a close and nothing had gone as I had hoped. The flower cart had sold out for the day to some fancy buyer who purchased every last thing, even the order I had waiting. The ice cream shop was closed despite the fact that we sprinted in a futile attempt to get there. So I led us to the one place where nothing would get in our way. And as I sat down on the park bench facing the waterfront, I stared out upon the lake and thought back on how we'd met here. Our 1 year anniversary was supposed to be an incredible day. And it was. Nothing went as planned, and some might see it as a disaster with how it went. Instead, I see it as a memorable event in our time together. When we saw what happened at the theater, we joked about how we needed to investigate for ourselves. I'm still in awe over how you nearly managed to get those cops to let us in. You really do have a way with people. Out of breath after fleeing the scene, we barely had time to catch it again as we doubled over in laughter. I knew neither of us would mind waiting at the restaurant because, after all, the day was supposed to be spent with each other. It only further proved I could spend an insurmountable amount of time talking to you and never get bored. You always know how to hold a conversation. When the wine got spilled, the shock on the other faces as we laughed over the coincidence was hysterical. Who would have expected 2 years in a row you'd get wine spilt on you here? I have always said you looked good in red. You'd look good in red. Despite the flower cart being empty, I spotted some purple wildflowers growing out of the sidewalk. Even though you rolled your eyes, I knew you enjoyed the excessive display as I presented them to you as a token of my love. You couldn't resist the opportunity to respond back bigger and bolder, really giving my performance a run for its money. Too bad we couldn't get that ice cream, though. The pint at your place was great, but nothing beats some good soft serve. When the evening finally ended with us on that bench, your arm wrapped around me as we stared at the sun, which had almost entirely set by now, I smiled. It didn't matter that my plans had been led astray. What mattered is that you were there with me, Marshall. You kept a smile on my face the whole time, never letting me be saddened for a second over the whole thing. Sometimes plans can go wrong, but that's perfectly okay. Just take it in stride and move on. Face the future with whatever it may hold. I know without a doubt now that my future is with you, Marshall. I love you. Dorian. Let me grab my phone timer again. I gotta say, these guys are disgustingly adorable, and I do love it. It's really sweet. But it does make me feel like something bad's gonna happen because this is a really beautiful relationship that they have, and I'm sure Marshall is alive out there somewhere, and that we're gonna be reunited at some point. I'm pretty sure. And with how beautiful and cute this is, I don't know. I feel like they're setting me up for something. I guess there's only one way to find out. Stretching my arms into the air, I listened to the whisper of the wind as it brushed against the nylon fabric surrounding me. It was a pleasant sound, one I'd heard every night I'd camped upon the cliff face. There was a comfort in the familiarity to it. However, there was a lack of warmth next to me that I'd felt the previous 2 nights. Xavier had already left the tent. We sat on the edge for a while last night, watching the sun finally set. Once it had, the 2 of us made our way back to the makeshift camp where Xavier called it a night. I offered to prepare some food to take to him before he slept, but he brushed me off as he went to rest. I couldn't really blame him either. None of this would be easy to take in all at once. It must seem like never-ending bad news. At the moment, all I can really do is be there for him. Offer him support when he needs it and give him space to process things. Maybe he'll write it in the journal I gave him to help clear his mind like I do. Going through my morning ritual, I picked up the pace a bit so as to check on Xavier sooner. I can't say I'm not worried about the kid. Grabbing my spear, I step out of the tent and glance around the campsite. I half expected to find the bat resting on the ledge, but he isn't anywhere in my eye line. My heart sank a bit at the idea that maybe he'd left to go on his own. I understood the appeal of journeying by yourself, but I thought he enjoyed my company. I know I certainly enjoyed his. He's a good companion. I took another look around the area, trying to see if I'd missed something. There. Oh, there. At the edge of the clearing was Xavier's quiver. I rushed over to it, thoughts flooding my mind as I scanned the area for more details. Had something happened to him? There didn't seem to be any signs of a struggle or anything out of place from the night prior besides this. He wouldn't have left something this important behind if he had left on his own. He still carried the weight of all his belongings. Someone could have gotten the jump on him, knocking him out with something to take him away. I've heard stories of bandits doing that before, but I assumed they were just rumors they spread themselves in order to build up their reputation. They'd left behind Xavier's belongings to make him easier to transport if that were the case. I could tell my mind was already running unnecessarily rampant over situations like that. I had to calm down. A simple breathing exercise would work best here. I closed my eyes as I repeated the action, muttering what I was doing as I went. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Thanks. I was about to do that myself. After a few moments, I managed to successfully compose myself so I could think properly. Oh, jeez, what are you doing? What are you doing? Ah! I looked up to see that he was hanging upside down from a tree, the look of confusion on his face shifting to a smile. Oh, was he? Easy there, old man. Don't want you to break a hip. The bat sat upward from the branch his legs were curled around, shifting his weight to hop off it to the ground. Upon landing, he walked over and reached a hand out to me, which I graciously took, getting myself back onto my feet. You okay, Dorian? You seemed panicked a moment ago. I brushed the dust off my pants as I looked at him. I'm fine. I was just worried about where you went. Why? Well, I saw your stuff sitting there and thought something might have happened to you. A blush creeped onto Xavier's cheeks at that. Oh, I appreciate it, but you don't need to worry about that. I'm not planning to go anywhere without you yet. My heart fluttered momentarily at the notion he'd stick by my side. It was a nice reassurance to know I'd have a friend around for a while. At the moment, though, I was still curious about something. That's good to hear, but I'm a bit confused. Why are you hanging upside down from a tree? Doesn't that perpetuate the stereotype? I guess so, yeah. For me, though, I do it because it helps me think. After everything recently, I needed it. I was going to say. It was barely noticeable, but I caught sight as his shoulders sagged ever so slightly before correcting themselves. I've had enough time to think about it for now, though. I'd rather get a start on the day ahead. Crouching over, he picked up his quiver and started to move toward the campsite. As the bat tried to walk past me, I put a hand on his shoulder to stop him. You know, you're not alone here. It's okay to let yourself feel over this. I'm here for you if you need to talk about it. Xavier released a shuddering sigh at my words and brought his gaze to mine. I know, Dorian, I know. Not right now, though. Not here. We can talk when we get to Haven, okay? I'd rather do it somewhere where I can feel properly safe, and out in the woods with that tent as our shelter doesn't really match that requirement. I gave him a smile and nodded, taking my hand off of him. All right, whenever you're ready. In the meantime, though, mind making us some breakfast? The grin returned to his face as he went off to tackle the task at hand. I glanced at the sky, seeing the longer dawn was still present. We'd reach Haven by tomorrow morning at our current pace. Okay. As an idea began to form in my head on a way to take Xavier's mind off current events, I figured it wouldn't hurt to take a little more time to get there. So, I turned back towards the woods and started my search. Alright, Haven's being put on hold. That's fine. I can wait. I waited for the new season over a year. I finished scooping dirt onto the ashes of the fire as Xavier walked towards me, the tent packed up and being carried under his arm. He spoke up as he attached it to the bottom of my pack. That should be everything, right? We're all good to head out now? Not quite. There's something I wanted to do first. What's that? The bat fumbled on the branch as I tossed it to him. Your first fencing lesson. Xavier blinked, confused. Really? Right now? Why not just wait until tomorrow at Haven? Because as I've said, you never know what might happen. Plus, what with that Morse code lesson under our belts, I need to even the mentor playing field. The bat rolled his eyes at that, a smirk on his face as he slid his quiver off to the ground. Again with the movie stereotypes. It never hurts to be cautious. It doesn't mean you always need to seek out how life imitates art, old man. I absolutely do. How else am I going to establish myself as the main character? All this internal monologuing should do you just fine, Dorian. Xavier laughed at my retort. Whoever said you were our protagonist? Is this a Game of Thrones foreshadowing? Is Dorian gonna die? Why wouldn't I be? Because I'd make a much more appealing lead. Oh, really? Absolutely. Seeing as I'm learning most of the things about this world all at once, it would make sense for it to follow my perspective. The viewer learns along with me as we go, which makes it easier for them to relate to me. I'm also single, meaning there's more opportunities for romance to brew with me. I'm the total main character package. And he's not wrong. I can see why you'd be appealing for sure, but it's a trope that gets used so often that some would find it refreshing to have someone more experienced at the helm. I have my own goal established already. That is sure to get people interested, and having you around lets me explain things to the audience. This is getting into a very deep level of meta. I'm handsome, cunning, and brave, the three traits people love to see in any hero. Oh, so you're a hero now. I mean, I did have that animatic made. I have to make sure I work on that today. Always have been, kid. Then what does that make me? Isn't it obvious? My sidekick. Ah! You wish, old man. Care to prove me wrong, then? I hoisted my own branch in the direction of the bat, shifting into a ready stance. I'd love to. He raised his own stick to me in response. On guard! I moved forward, chasing the tip of my replacement blade with Xavier's. I knocked it out of the way with ease and put the end toward his chest. Really gave me a run for my money there, huh? His grin broadened at my gloating. I'm just warming up. He lifted the branch into the same position once more, and I did the same. On guard! The two of us continued our practice for another 20 minutes or so, the sound of our clashing branches and shuffling feet encompassing the clearing. While he tried his best to score a point against me, I watched his performance and called out tips as we went. Sure, it might have been better to explain the basics to him, for lack of a better term, right off the bat, but I was curious to see how he could adapt to the fencing on his own. Considering he came close to scoring against me a few times in the process, he was a faster learner than I'd expected. I felt an odd sense of pride bubbling up in my chest over it. Maybe there really was something to all this mentor business the movies like to hype up so much. Our breathing was a bit labored from the exercise, so I lowered my stick and stood up straight. I think that's enough training like this for the moment. Good work, kid. Thanks, Dorian. He reached into his pocket to get a bottle of water, and I did the same, stretching out my muscles in the process while he sat. I was happier now more than ever that I'd taken the time the last few years to start working out again like I had in high school. Not only had the exercise proven useful during the apocalypse, the mental clarity I felt both during and after was incredibly satisfying and proved useful in sorting my thoughts. The process had also proved to be a great stress reliever, especially when done with a friend. Focusing back on the situation at hand, I put the water back in my bag and walked over to Xavier to help him up. One final lesson before the road. Now that I've seen your natural skill level, I want to teach you a few basic things that will help improve your ability. I get into the starting position and motion for Xavier to do the same. Your beginning stance is called on guard. You take your dominant arm and hold it outward, leading with the corresponding leg. I take a step forward with my right leg and hold the tree branch out. Since you're left-handed, you'd extend your left leg and arm equipped with whatever weapon you'll have. Normally you'd be using a fencing foil, but you'll likely have to adjust to other armaments. Xavier mimics my stance, mirroring me as best he can. Notice that I keep my knees bent above my toes. It'll help keep your movements sharp. I watch as he attempts to correct himself, the playful part of my brain kicking into high gear. If he wants to tease me about my love of media, I know exactly the scene to recreate here. I walk over to the bat and without a word, press myself to his back and hold him tight as he suddenly tenses. What scene is he recreating here? What movie is this? What are you... Helping? Just relax. I adapt myself to the curve of his body, making adjustments to the way he's positioned as I hear his breathing quicken. Are they referencing Soul Creek, maybe? My hand caresses his forearms as I bring his elbows into the crooks of mine while working around the wing, gently moving them in a way that will help his pose. Simultaneously, my knees are adjusting his to make sure they align properly with his toes. I can tell Xavier enjoys the touch, clearly needing contact after so long alone. The rapid beat of his heart gives it away as it thrums against my chest. I mean, are you not taken, Dorian? I feel like this is a bit much to be flirting in this way. The warmth of our bodies so close as I slide my hands down his sides to fix his posture, lingering at his hips as we stand there. Oh my gosh. Satisfied, I step back from the bat with a smug smile, knowing that my teasing went perfectly. I can see the red in his cheeks from here. The tease was also not without purpose, either as his stance is as... The tease was also not without purpose either, as his stance is as perfect as I had ever seen from a beginner. Point Dorian. There you go. That's how you should be starting off. How does that feel? Like you're a teasing a-hole. Xavier mutters his response low enough that I can't quite catch it. What was that? I said it feels more natural. I'm not entirely convinced that's what he said, but I let it slide for the time being. Next, we'll cover the advance. Do I need you to fill me up for this part too? I laugh at the snark. Don't worry, I've had my fun for the time being. Now, you start with your forward foot and then move with your back one. Make sure your heel lands first, not your toes. I take up on guard once more and display the advance, extending the tree branch forward. Then do the opposite with the retreat. Back leg, then front leg. I follow my own instructions to finish the example, gesturing for Xavier to follow suit. His first attempt is somewhat wobbly, but after a few tries he gets the hang of it. Excellent. Lastly, we'll cover the lunge. To actually get your foil to your opponent, this is the move you need. You'll want to kick your front leg forwards and push off with your back one. I demonstrate the action for him. You'll have to find the movement that suits you best for this the more you practice. Some prefer to kick their leg higher for more airtime while others go further forward. It all depends on the person. I watch as he follows my instructions, testing out a few different styles before finding one that he seems to enjoy. That should cover the basics for the moment. Think you'll be ready for our next bout? A smile crosses Xavier's face as we put the sticks down to grab our bags. You won't know what hit you, old man. We share a final laugh as we glance at the campsite before anything we might have left behind. Xavier's eyes lingering towards the cliff before he shakes his head as if to snap himself out of it. The bat speaks up as I turn to leave. No goodbyes this time, Dorian? No need. I visited this site many times before. I don't need to bid it farewell again. Wow. Who knew an old dog could learn new tricks? I gave him a shove and laughed as we turned down the trail opposite the one we came, ready to finish our trek into the city. That was a cute little moment. It wouldn't be a long journey until we made it to the suburbs, bringing what I'd consider the first half of our journey to a close. It took a few moments before a conversation would be struck up to review the schedule for the day. It was fairly simple. Make our way out of the woods, journey through the suburbs, give Xavier a lesson on scavenging, and walk a bit more before calling it a night. Taking a glance at the sky above, we seemed to be right on track, if not a bit ahead of schedule. Haven was only a day away. I couldn't help but wonder how everyone was faring there in the weeks I'd been gone. It may not have been the longest time, but life had a way of changing things in an instant. Someone had likely been selected to fill my position on the council to help keep things running smoothly, but who could it have been? Hold on, gotta pause getting a phone call. And back now. I knew a few had their eyes on the job even before I'd left. Whoever it was certainly deserved a chance at helping everyone. Maybe Tia or Oliver? Olivia? Why do they have unpronounceable names? Olivier? Olivier? Maybe that person or this other person had finally stepped up. The twins were incredible at what they did, and either was more than worthy in my eyes. Oh, it's cool, twins. The German shepherds were a main asset in keeping the camp clothed and armed, both being prodigies in their respective fields of blacksmithing for the former and fashion for the latter. Hell, if both ended up on there, then the camp wouldn't know what hit them. I smiled at the fond memories I'd had with the two, my mind branching out and recalling all the good times I'd had there, the countless lives I'd saved. I think it'd be good to be back, at least for a little while. Xavier would be able to make some more friends and have a safe place as well. I'd have to leave eventually, though, depending on how urgent the news they had for me was. Part of me wanted to leave Xavier there, to give him a chance to relax. The other part knew how valuable a friend he was to me and wanted him by my side. In the end, the decision would be completely up to him, stay at Haven or accompany me on my journey. That choice was his and his alone. After 2 days together, I felt like I understood relatively well how the bat worked. I was sure he'd stay with me, especially after his comment this morning. Yet, the sliver of doubt that he wouldn't made me realize I really didn't know all too much about him. If we parted, there were so many questions I wouldn't get to ask. This time, I broke the silence between us first to start up a conversation to get to know him better. We'll start that conversation next time. I gotta get started on another recording, another editing and such. But this is good. Good place to leave it. I think lots happened. Hope you guys enjoyed then. Little fencing lesson, a little extra teasing and arguing about who's going to be the main character. As if we don't already know. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you're having a good day, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Hope it was a good chance for you to relax. Any subscriptions? You'd think by now I really would have, solidified this whole YouTube spiel thing. But maybe I'll write something out later. In terms of announcements, no crazy announcements. I'm gonna try and upload at least a couple more episodes of this and Socially Awkward within the next week, by next Monday, as well as have that animatic finished. And I'm also, and this isn't new, I'm working on another video essay, ironically for Soul Creek. I mean, I made that comment earlier, but I wonder if that's actually the reference that he was making. But anywho, hope you guys take care. Till next time.